Hi, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to seal the countertop here. There's the sink and water sometimes pools here and goes inside there. Sometimes people are washing their hands and water goes at the back here, and this over time deteriorates. I'm going to show you how to reseal this. If your sink looks more like this one, I'll also show you how to seal that. Alright, just having a look at why I need to seal this in the first place. Firstly, look at this silicone here. This is not a very good job. And if you look at that, this is totally porous, which means water that is pooling here is just going to go right inside and drip down on the wooden cabinet. The next thing, if you look at the top here, this was silicone, but as you can see, it's now come out, and look how grimy that is. Alright, to do this job, you're going to need some silicone depending on the color of your counter. Alright, I'm going to be using clear, I'm going to be using white. You're also going to need a silicone gun. That's going to allow you to pump the silicone out. I recommend one of these, even if you've got just the blade, also very good. You might need a screwdriver, it does help at times, and a scraper. A rag, definitely going to need some tissues when you're working with silicone. I've got some tape here just to demarcate it so the user does not use the tap when the silicone is still drying. I've got rubbing alcohol to clean, and this is thinners, but just be careful with thinners because it does remove paint as well. I also have a blower which speeds up the process when you've cleaned it and you want it to dry quickly. Now the most important thing with this job is actually the cleaning. Preparation is everything here. So what I'm going to do is, this is already loose. Now in your case, if yours wasn't loose and all you had to do was put a bit of silicone, then you can skip ahead. But because mine is loose, I'm going to take it out now gently. Right, seeing as though we don't want to scratch this counter, so I'm just going to put this on top of a tile to balance it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first clean the back there. Now there are lots of cleaning products that you can use. You can use rubbing alcohol, but what I'm going to do, because this is a tile and this is granite, I'm just going to use thinners. Thinners is very good at cleaning and also it dries very quickly. But as I said, if you've got anything that's painted, anything with enamel, don't use thinners. Rather just use your general purpose ammonias or whatnot. Rubbing alcohol is also very good. Right, so I've put some detergent on that, and now what I want to do is remove the old silicone. Now be very careful. If your countertop is prone to being scratched, don't just come and grind it here, and be careful of using things that are abrasive. Now this is granite, it's very strong, so I'm not too worried, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and peel this silicone, this old silicone off. And look, if I can grab the end there, I can maybe actually just cut it away. As you can see how easy it's just coming off. Look at that. Right, do not do too much unnecessary scratching. When you are scratching, try scratch towards the wall. Don't scratch this way, you're going to leave scratch marks on your counter. Very important is this bullnose. Now you see what happens is people often forget the edges and you got this dirty residue here. So here you can see I'm making sure that even here I'm getting this old silicone out. And also on the tile. Now in many households, this is how the sink is. There's just the countertop straight to the wall, and then what you'll do is you'll just silicone the back end over there. Now in this case, there's this piece that has to be put back. But before we do that, we've got to make sure this is completely clean. And this is where the rubbing alcohol comes in. Right, so I'm just putting some on here, and this takes away any oily residue. Now in this case, unfortunately, you still have to take away this old silicone. Quite easy to get it off. Actually, this is not silicone, this is acrylic. It's partly why this thing came off. Don't use acrylic, you must use silicone. Right, same story with this. You've got to clean it. Now if you've got one, this is where a blower is very handy. Right, so I've put 2 lines of silicone here. Unfortunately, you didn't see it, it didn't record. So I'm just going to show you again. All I did is I took the silicone and I went like this, and I put 2 lines of silicone like that. Right, then what I did is I put a line of silicone like this. All I did is I smeared this in with my finger, and the reason being is this is the critical part. This is where the water would seep in. So make sure that this place is completely full with silicone. Now you can see I've got some silicone there, and that's because I had to take it off because the video didn't record. So I'm just showing you what I did. I've just put a line of silicone on there just like that. Now it's time to flip this and put it there. Now just make sure it lines up. As you can see, there's a gap there, so it has to shift this way. So I just shift this across. There we go. So all I'm going to do now is I'm gently going to push this towards the wall, but not a lot. I've still got a gap there, and the reason being is now I want to put a bit of silicone just like that. Right, there we go. There we go. I'm just putting a bit of silicone here. Now what I do is I just take my finger and slide it over. I want the silicone to go inside there. Now it's time to compress this. And as you can see how the silicone is now seeping back out. And now you also want to press downwards. Right, now it's just time to clean off the excess silicone. Now you can reuse this. Remember, I had that other basin which I'm now going to seal. Alright, so I'm just cleaning it with the alcohol once again. So the leftover from the one sink I'm now going to use here to seal this sink. Right, to get rid of the excess, I just take my finger and I go like that. As you can see, now I'll put that on the other basin, and I take my other finger on the top, and as you can see, I smear it like that. The way that works for me is I take my finger and I smear it. As you can see, I've smeared it down. And then I take my other finger and I smear it at an angle. Now don't worry about the residue, I'm going to show you how to clean that up shortly. While the silicone's wet, it's very easy to clean the residue. Just take a tissue, make it a little bit wet, and just wipe it. Here you can see I'm wiping the excess silicone away. Now I'm just making the tissue a little bit damp because it helps to wipe the excess silicone away. And now I'm wiping the excess silicone from the basin. Now as you can see, I'm not letting the tissue touch the place where the sink and the tile join. No, I'm really just trying to get the excess silicone away. And then finally, with a tissue that is not wet, just removing the excess silicone. And a last once over, just to make sure that it's beveled. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just wetting this a little bit. It's just damp, it's not dripping, and now I'm just cleaning away any of the excess silicone. And if you don't want to use a tissue because you're worried about tissue getting inside there, you can just use a damp cloth. Now as you can see, I'm wiping quite vigorously. Just so it's clear, I'm not wiping right in the wedge there. I'm wiping next to the join. So I'm cleaning away the residue silicone. I'm going to annotate this so you can see where I'm vigorously wiping. I'm wiping just next to this joint. So I'm wiping here
and I'm wiping here. It's not easy to see on the camera, but I'm also wiping here. You can actually see there's a line of where I'm getting close to. So I'm wiping here, I'm wiping on the tile. I'm not putting the cloth vigorously into that silicone there. There would be no point in that. What I'm trying to do is just get all the excess silicone away, especially over here. I want to get all that excess silicone away. I don't want to leave silicone that looks like this, so that when it's dry, there's this silicone smear everywhere on this countertop. And if you recall, before I started the job, can you see how it was? All that excess silicone smeared there. Yes, when you've completed the job, you don't normally see that. But as people wipe the counter over time, the silicone becomes less transparent and you start to see that silicone smear. That is what I'm trying to get rid of right now while the silicone is still wet. If in your case, there's almost no gap between the counter and the tile or the wall, well, and then in that case, you would then need to put the silicone like this. As you can see, it's been smeared. The silicone width is between there and there. So it's actually smeared on the counter and it's smeared on the tile and it's actually raised a little bit there. So it's got like a gradient. So it's building up, and then it's more like that. So in that case, yes, it's best to do the smear here on the wall and on the counter so that the silicone doesn't peel up, because there is no traction here between the tile and the table because the silicone cannot get inside there. So the silicone is only on the top of the surfaces, and in that case you do the smearing and it's okay if it goes on the tile and the tabletop.
If you remember, the old seal had silicone all the way up and down here. Now I don't want that. There you can see it. Right, now it's time for finishing touches. Just take my finger and as you can see, I'm smearing it in there very firmly. You see, so there's the silicone seal. I don't need the silicone going all the way up and all the way down there. Now if you look closely, you can see the silicone is just there between the wedge and the tile. If there's lots of silicone going here, over time it discolors and you get a wavy line of the color of the silicone. Even if it's clear, eventually it will become pasty looking. Right, so that part here is now sealed, and remember we put 2 lines of silicone, so even if water's pooling here, if it breaks through the first line over years, it's still going to get stuck on the second line of the silicone. Right, so there you can see it's sealed. I'm now going to leave it to dry for about 12 hours. Remember, we put lots of silicone underneath it, so even if water is pooling here, it won't go underneath there. Right, this is now dry. This is extremely strong. There's a little bit of silicone left over here. You can just take a blade and almost just cut along there like that. And you can just take your finger and just rub any excess silicone that is here. Yeah, there's a little bit here. Just take it away. Right, so here you can see completely smooth, no silicone residue left on the counter. Right, so last step is just to see that there's no silicone residue left anywhere. And there's the top. As you can see, it is now finished. And I'll show you the other basin. Alright, so here it is sealed. In this case, there's a slight smear on the tile, which is fine. And then there's a little bit just on that lip over there. Going into the sink, no, there's no silicone in the sink, just on that wedge over there.